ready? Shit.
I'm Vin. I'm
Crazy.
Sori.
35 years old.
Babe, let's go.
That's mind-boggling to me. I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
That's Booby.
And Culpy. R.I.P. And Ghosty. This is Booby. He's in the cup.
It's S.I.P. He's sleeping in peace because I'm pretty sure we're there's another Culpy on the way, inshallah.
Oh.
Speaking of Culpy and Carmen and them, they all went to Corn
Yeah.
and Allison Chains yesterday, so we actually have a picture of them. And I need you to make sure you put this picture in the video.
Send it to me now.
It was Carmen, Rolo, and Culpy, and Rachel.
That's cool.
So they all
had
went
a good
to
time.
Corn and Allison Chains, Village representing in full
That's
effect.
right.
You know how we get down.
Nobody was wearing a Sori shirt?
They don't need to wear a Sori shirt.
What?
You need to wear a Sori shirt for. What's wrong with you? Yeah, and everybody's like, Vin is such an egomaniac.
Wait, I'm in the middle of editing and I just realized that Carmen was wearing the secret shirt. So thank you for representing me.
Okay, for timely topical political commentary, you can hit us up at Middle of America with Vin and Sori. And we've got our firesides and junk on that thingamajiggy.
We do.
So Slipknot review is coming, but in the interim, enjoy this number from Killswitch Engage, The Signal Fire.
If you like our content and you want to wear some of our gear, check out the link in the description and you can see all the awesome stuff we have there. All right, is everybody ready?
Yep.
And go.
Will define the new way.
was a good one.
Oh my goodness!
Yes.
I love Killswitch Engage. It's so inspiring.
So inspiring. You ready to run? Oh, but your leg.
I take care of that fracture, man.
You do.
This was great. This was a great record. This is a great song. Very inspiring. Killswitch Engage
Oh my gosh, that just came out?
is good at, yeah. Killswitch Engage
Oh, I didn't know that.
is really, really, really good at inspiring people.
Yeah.
They just write like really inspiring stuff. And this was also the old singer.
Oh, really?
Well, not the old singer. They had a singer that took over. The first singer is Jesse. He's the one that you saw. And then Jesse he quit the band for a little bit. And then they had this guy named Howard Jones, and Howard Jones came into the band. But then Howard Jones had some issues. He's a black guy that's singing. They're like talking to each other. That's pretty badass.
Okay,
Look at that. Yeah. So that's really cool.
What do you mean issues? Like health issues?
I think they were drug issues. He was in a dark time, so he had to leave, and then they brought Jesse back. But now like they're singing together. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I wish they would just tour with both of them, because they both have like really like distinct vocal styles. It would be crazy. And I mean, they're rich enough now to where they could do it. You know what I mean? But yeah, so it's a really, really, really good song. I really like it. Was inspiring, man.
What did you get from it?
Well, it was just talking about like humanity is going down the drain, but there's still hope. And the signal fire is like it's like a shot that kind of tells everybody like it's time to go. It's kind of time to do something. So that's how I took it. How'd you look at it?
Yeah, basically the same thing. I liked it when he said, scroll down a little bit. Where was this? This is our beacon to deliver us all, to guide us away from this decay of humanity.
Yeah.
And then when he says, nowhere to hide, strength realigned, the signal fires a light. To me, that was like a double. Like, it's a light, meaning it's lit up.
Right.
But also,
A
we're
light.
pushing a light. Yeah.
Right.
Which,
Right.
you know, Jesus said he was the light of the world, so that was to me what that meant.
He also said that we were, dear listener.
Right.
No more following this endless maze. Separation will define the new way. What's interesting is I just talked about this in the Slipknot review, which is coming soon. But I talked about how there's good separation and bad separation. So, no more following this endless maze. Separation will define the new way. And so I think he's talking about good separation here.
Yeah.
Because the endless maze, I think, is just, the American dream, capitalism, whatever. You're just going around and you can never find the end because you can never get enough and there's never enough type of thing. And so, like, to separate yourself from that is the way forward. I think at this point in our country, we're at a point where it's like, we got to figure out something new. Like, we got to do something we haven't done before because it's just getting to a real tipping point in our country, I think.
Yeah, it's not working, so.
Right, and it's what's broken is what leads us all astray, right? So like we're all like trapped in this like maze, but it's a broken system. And then if you have a broken system, it's going to produce broken leaders, which obviously we have in spades. And whether or not you are a fan of Trump or not a fan of Trump, you have to concede that he's not a person that you want to emulate.
Right.
You want your kids to emulate.
Right.
He's a broken person, and then on the other side, the options we have, they're all broken because they all came out of the system. So we're all being led astray. It doesn't matter what position you take. Like, obviously, things are not going well in our country. The Chosen are renewed in amnesty. Like I said, Jesse and I'm pretty sure Howard and Adam have Christian background. Whether or not you subscribe to Christianity, if you're raised in that milieu, there are certain categories of thought that are still there.
Yeah.
So like for the concept of the chosen and renewal and amnesty. So amnesty is what happens when you commit a crime and then you get pardoned. So the chosen are renewed in amnesty. I mean, those are obviously biblical categories for, the saved, whatever. But it's one of those things where it's like the only way we can move forward is if there is like a collective amnesty. Because we've all done horrible things to each other. So like religious people have done terrible things to LGBT people. Vice versa has obviously happened. Black people and white people,
Yep.
The only way that we're going to move forward as a country is if we collectively forgive each other.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But right now we're in a state where people are so busy being offended.
Yep.
That nobody takes the time to say, well, maybe I have been offensive. Because you're so busy being offended.
Yep.
That you don't realize that you also have been offensive and that you need amnesty and the other guy needs amnesty. And pointing out something that other people do wrong doesn't negate that idea, as long as you realize that's one of the reasons why a lot of people will say, oh, you guys are different, you're not judgmental Christians, but we don't say those people and that church. Like we always say, like, that's us. Those are our people.
Yep.
And we don't separate ourselves from those people because that's our tribe. So we're gonna ride with them, better or worse. But what that means is that then we, as representatives of that tribe, need to take part in this collective amnesty. I think there was an LGBT. I think Zonia sent it to me. There was like a pride parade, and Christians showed up with a bunch of apology signs or whatever.
Well, really?
Yeah, and look, I don't apologize for what I believe.
No, I was assuming they were apologizing for the treatment that the church has given to that community.
Seduct, right.
Wow, that's really cool.
The reason I'm saying that is because I know immediately there's some Christians that are these a bunch of compromisers. No, we don't have to compromise.
No, you don't have to compromise your message, but...
like I said, we did an entire Bible boogie where that was a front and center issue. That's not the issue. The issue is how we treat people. And we have been horrible and destructive to the LGBT community.
Yeah.
And they do deserve an apology from us. And I'm saying us because those are our people. I think those are good steps to take.
Yep.
And I think the folks who are targeting businesses and trying to shut down people's businesses also need to apologize.
I agree.
For trying to, because there's nothing that's being done there other than just plain vitriolic anger and hatred.
Yeah.
It is a fact that LGBT people, many of them, hate Christians and Christianity before they even get to know them. Now, I know why.
Yeah.
But two wrongs don't make a right.
Right.
But it's not for me to tell the LGBT community how they're supposed to correct that issue. But it's absolutely an issue. But from our perspective, I think that that's such a good line. The chosen are renewed in amnesty. Like, we've got to give each other amnesty. You know what I mean?
Yep. Well, it's like we were talking to the kids, for those of you who don't know, we have 5 kids. So there's always something going on, And they're, we have, what do you mean 6?
One with A and self and show.
Oh, I know, but I don't, 6. So, one doesn't participate in the fights. They'll all, that's why I don't usually say it. They all kind of like have this perpetual,
Jihad.
We have one of them that is always, he's the little brother, he's always irritating the older ones. And then the older ones are always picking on him because they're annoyed with him. And so it like creates this cycle. So everybody's always, I'm like, somebody's got to stop, That's why Jesus said turn the other cheek and stuff like that, is because somebody has to break that cycle.
Right.
And, that's kind of like in this song. I like this line, broken, hopeless, the state of all our fates. Revolted, woken, lead us from this place. I like that.
Well, you have to kind of be... The term woke right now is kind of like, has now gone into the pejorative sense. Like, go woke, go broke, blah, 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 blah. And woke was originally designed to talk about the fact that all of us have been sleeping or that we've been blind to the suffering of other people. And now you're woke, you've woken up to the fact that, hey, blacks are being mistreated and gays are being mistreated and women are being mistreated. And so now the reaction to that is, so we've got to do something about it. So that then becomes you're woke. But now woke has now become a pejorative term it's used to like mock people, like, oh, you're so woke, da da da. Because I agree, like there are some people that have like shifted it way to the point of, you know, ridiculous. You know, like just some of the stuff that people are talking about is crazy. You know, so but still in this song though, woke looks like a positive thing. Revolted, woken, lead us from this place. And I think that's a good strategy. And I mean, or it's a good profession where you get revolted by the fact of what we're looking at. Like, I think everybody's at the point now where we're all kind of sick. It's like, we know what the right wingers are going to tell us, and we know what the left wingers are going to tell us. You know what I mean? And we get it. And you kind of have to get to the point where you're sick and disgusted with the system.
Yeah. To
finally wake up and get a leader that can lead us the heck out of this morass that we're currently in. But I thought it was just he was saying a lot in a very, very small period of time. Nowhere to hide, strength realigned, given to fight, there's hope just in sight. Yeah, I think, you know, fighting is another one of those things where it can be really good or it can be really bad.
Yeah.
It can be really creative or really destructive. And I think that, I mean, obviously, I'm going to assume that he's talking about the good version of fighting, because there's a good way to fight, and there's a good thing to fight for. And I think America, with all its flaws, obviously, everybody knows I'm a patriot. I love this country. And I get it. There are definitely problems with this country, but there's still a lot of good in this country that is worth fighting for.
Yeah, I think that, you know, we spend so much time fighting each other instead of fighting the systems that separate us. And that was kind of like, you know, what I was seeing in this was that's what they were going to fight. Like, it was aligning themselves together to fight against the system that had divided them.
Yeah, and it kind of gets extrapolated. Can we walk a mile in another's shoes to determine what we have to lose? Disconnection of a common reality becomes so lost in this world of hypocrisy. There's a lot of... When I talk about what it's like sometimes to be black in America, to some of my well-meaning friends, and it's like, you know, it's this inability to see. You don't have to agree with everybody's conclusions, but the inability to see where another person's coming from, creates a lot of the animus and the anger that's happening in our country. Now, I know, just on my assumption of human nature, this is where my, you know, Vin's original sin thing is very helpful. I know that people are inherently selfish. And so if your issues are not their issues and they don't have to worry, you know, Dave Chappelle said it, I don't care. You know, Dave Chappelle was talking about the opioid crisis. And he was saying the opioid crisis is hitting white people now the way that crack was hitting black people in the 80s. And he's like, I'm going to say to you what you guys said to us. We don't care. Hold on, white people. And it was a big joke. Ha ha ha.
Really?
Yeah. And of course, you know, Dave Chappelle, the majority audience was black, so it was this big chuckle, yada yada yada, funny thing. But at the same time, to me, it's not funny because this is a, you know, we were in ministry with these people and we saw these white people dying. It's not fun. It's a freaking horrible, horrifying thing to see.
Maybe he was just trying to draw attention to the. That's a really terrible thing to say to a community of people that are dying by drugs.
Oh, well, yeah.
So just to say it, you know, it kind of draws attention to how horrible.
Well, yeah, I agree. I mean, there's a lot of like real, like when you're black in America, there's a lot of things where you go, now it's happening to you, it's a problem. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of, if you don't have the gospel, you can become a very, very bitter person.
Man, I bet.
That's why when I was talking to the black Israelites, I'm like, I can't go along with your theology, not just because just the theology is bad in the sense of it doesn't match up with the Bible, but it speaks to the most basest parts of my sinful nature, because it's saying that white people are the devil and God's gonna, you know, have black people enslave white people and we're gonna get to do to them what they do to us, and you don't want them to get away with it, you know, So like it's like, like my natural self, like and so that's one of the reasons I told one of the black Israelites, I'm like, I can never
Yeah.
I could never subscribe to a religion that appeals to the basest parts of my nature.
Yes.
Like, sorry, that's not going to get you crucified, sir. But yeah, like, so there's a lot of that anger. So when a guy like Dave Chappelle says something like that, it's like, yeah, how do you guys like it? You know, the problem that I had with that particular joke in particular was the fact that I've seen the devastation.
Right, yeah.
And I don't care if they're white or black.
Right.
It's a freaking horrible tragedy
Yeah.
that, you know, I'm not, you know, obviously not going to get over in this life because we lost too many people, but, you know, but I see what he's saying though, and you know, he was like, what's so hard about saying no to drugs, which is what they were saying to us the whole time, and chucking us all in jail, and Chappelle was like, I'm glad now people are starting to realize that this is an illness and that needs medical attention and not legal attention.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, people are talking
So
about
bizarre.
having, you know, walk-in clinics where you can shoot up to keep it safe and all the rest of it. He's like, you know, meanwhile, a lot of us had our lives completely destroyed in the 80s and 90s between the war on drugs.
Not
and,
just them, but their entire family.
Hillary Rodham Clinton's super predator black kids crime bill.
Right.
And now that you've got this drug epidemic in a white community, now all of a sudden it's a medical emergency and not a legal one. So yeah, we notice that shit. Like, we notice. So it's like,
Yeah.
you know, but that's not but what is that gonna do? It's like, okay, so Chappelle, you made that joke. A bunch of black folk know exactly what you're talking about. A lot of white folk don't have any idea what we were going through in the 80s and 90s. They have no clue. All they're hearing you do is laugh at the fact that their cousin Ted just OD'd in the bathroom.
Yeah.
So now it creates this type of animus. So on the one hand, like, I get it, but then on the other hand, you know, he talks about so lost in this world of hypocrisy. Because one way to look at it was like, well, it was bad when it happened to us. Nobody cared about us, so screw those people.
Yep.
That's one way to look at it. But the other way to look at it is to say, well, if it was bad when it happened to you, why would you be happy when it happened to another group of people?
Exactly.
That's a form of hypocrisy.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't think that Dave Chappelle is literally sick. Like, he said a lot of things in that special that I'm sure he didn't mean. But he was just attacking it from the social perspective of it. And that's why it was funny, because there's a lot of truth to what he's saying. But you know, two wrongs don't make a right. And I think, you know, a lot of these, like, black identity movements are based on the idea that we've got to make them pay. We can't just let them get away with this. And if you don't have a theological framework to say, look, it's not for us to distribute justice. God will dole out justice perfectly to the letter, to, you know, on the last day, but that's for him to decide. It's not for us.
Right.
God didn't tell us to judge our neighbor.
Yeah.
God didn't tell us to equal the scores with our neighbor. God told us to love our neighbor. Period. And so you can get rid of so many movements and ideas and theologies just by that alone. So that's kind of how I took the song. It's like, there's got to be some amnesty, which is a very, you know, a very hard thing to do, is release that and let it go. And there's got to be some recognition of the pain of other people.
Yes.
And to just shut up and, again, but like, when I listen to LGBT people, like I said, I don't have to agree with everything that you're saying. Like, I don't agree with targeting a mom and pop bakery and trying to completely destroy their life work because they hold to a specific conviction that they cannot support a gay wedding. Like, that's completely wrong. It's America. Let them do whatever they want to do and go next door and buy your cake. Like, we've got to be able to listen to each other, not necessarily have to agree, but do a little bit to try to see something from another person's perspective, understand their pain, understand where it's coming from.
Right.
And then when you're on the Christian side, yes, there are militant, you know, LGBT people. Then you have to ask the question, why are they so militant? You know, you only have militaries to stave off wars. And these people, it has not been an equal fight. They're 1 to 3% of the population, and we've made their lives a living hell in this country and on this continent for probably the last 500 years. These people. So anyway, my point is that to me, that's the point of the song, is that we've got to see everything from everybody's perspective and try to have a little empathy, while at the same time recognizing that there are significant differences with all of us, and we're all not going to agree. And the only thing that we have got to agree about without compromise is we have to love each other, period. And then the more and more I see this stuff, and the more and more I look around and watch Tim Pool and Jimmy Dore and Sam Sater and all these people, the more I realize that, like, man, the only no compromise I have is love. Like, we gotta love each other.
When you love somebody, you don't look for the worst possible motivator for why they did what they did. You're always trying to look out for the best of why, you know, in a given situation. And I think that there are times when somebody says something and they have a real, you know, maybe racist or homophobic reason behind what they're saying, and then there are other times where people say something and it wasn't coming from any place of being malicious. It was just, you know, thoughts that they have or whatever. And I think that, like I said, if you love somebody, then you're going to want to wade through that and see what their actual motive was for what they said, the heart behind it.
Yeah.
And then that will help us to dictate in different situations what to do. But because we're not really loving each other or trying to look beyond what was said and look for the spirit of what was said,
right,
then we make a miss, and then we hate each other, and we get angry, and we get hurt, and we, you know, fly off the handle. I mean, I was having a discussion with somebody one time, and she was not listening to what I was saying because some of the words that I used triggered her. I was saying something completely opposite than what she thought I was saying, but because she got triggered by certain words that are like no's in the society, she couldn't hear what I was actually saying.
Yep.
And that's a problem. And it's happening all over the place. And then you have people deliberately twisting what other people are saying. Like, you know, when they were talking about cleaning up the streets because it was rat infested, and then that guy got on there and he was trying to twist the whole thing and make it look like he was saying that black people were the infestation.
Right.
That's wrong.
Right.
You're absolutely
Right.
going out of your way to cause more division.
Right.
When even that situation, you didn't even have to look hard. Like, if you just took him at face value, you would have.
Trump is offensive and hurtful enough by himself,
right,
without you creating fictional moments of offense.
Right.
And
exactly.
You know, this guy's all crying about it or whatever, but he moved out the first chance he got.
Right.
Check it out in the Middle America episode if you want to know what we're talking about. Anyway, much love to him. Much love to the big homie. Much love to our president and everybody that voted for him. And,
so this was a 9.8 for me. 9.9.
This is a 10 for me.
I'll go with a 10 too. I was kind of like teetering between that and a 10.
It's a 10 for me because
the meaning of it.
yeah, it's extremely important